Win big with new DRF All Access Past Performances. With one best-in-class product, you now get all three past performance formats. Go to DRF.com and use coupon code 1FREEPP for a free single card today.
Dan Illman, Mike Beer taking a look at race number 5 at Woodbine on Woodbine Mile Saturday. It's the Grade 1 Natalma for 2-year-old fillies going a one-turn mile. Let's take a look at this field. This looks like a really important prep race for the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Fillies Turf. And hey, Mark Casse has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 of the 13 horses entered in this race. Several of them cross-entered in the boys' race the summer later in the card.
Yeah, the way these two-year-old races shook out, that seems like an untenable situation up there at Woodbine. But listen, he's got 8 in here, and he's having an unbelievable year with his 2-year-olds all over the place, Dan. But he doesn't have the morning line favorite, and he doesn't have the morning line second choice either.
Let's throw up the Timeform US pace projector and see where these Casse horses are going to be in the early part of the race. Christophe Clement has the rail horse, the number 1 Anna Skull, your second choice. She's expected to get to the front in here off a gate-to-wire victory sprinting at Saratoga. I won't argue with that. We won't have pace data for the favorite, the 13 Mountain Breeze, who goes out for Charlie Appleby, who wins everything at Woodbine.
Yeah, we'll see how I don't know how this pace is going to shake out. It could certainly be Anna's Call on the lead. Wanted it in the debut and got it, but it didn't seem like a particularly fast pace in that race. I don't know, man. There's a bunch of horses stretching out in here. There's a bunch of horses switching surfaces. This pace could certainly get fast, but I have no idea who's going to be up there.
If the pace is hot, keep an eye on the 3 Nitrogen, the 6 Will Rain. Those are 2 horses trained by Casse, and they share the fastest Timeform US late pace rating. Let's watch Anna Skull's career debut. She's a daughter of American Pharaoh, and she faced New York breds at Saratoga going 5.5 furlongs. She went to the lead. She shrugged off pace pressure, and she looks good as the favorite. She was no surprise.
Yeah, she was not. And she looked good winning this race, too. She did make the lead. You know, Dettori came out of the gate running on her. He wanted the lead with her. He got it. Once he cut the corner on these horses through the stretch, though, he put this race away pretty convincingly. It was a good debut. The Dam was a really good horse, and she was strictly a turf sprinter. But there are other horses in this family who were good and could get at least a mile. So I'm not going to be surprised when this horse stretches out.
The number 2 Italian Soiree might be a sleeper for a very good trainer in John Terranova. She's switching to the turf for the first time in her career after placing in the Grade 3 Adirondack on dirt. She's by Uncle Mo. They get turf, they get dirt. The Dam's a half to Old Time Hockey, was a graded stakes winner going long, and the second Dam was a stakes winner on turf. So for me, there's enough pedigree.
Yeah, I found enough turf pedigree here too. Really liked this horse's debut. Caused all the trouble at the start of that race herself, but I like the way that she overcame it, won convincingly. I thought she ran fine in the Adirondack last time. She's talented enough for sure. She's probably going to be a fair price. I don't think I'd take the 6-1 morning line, but I could see her drifting off that.
Here's a daughter of Medaglia d'Oro that's already raced at a mile, the number 3 Nitrogen. Now, the mile was a 2-turn affair over Woodbine's inner turf course, but she ran just fine. Let's watch Nitrogen's performance. It's her debut. She got bet hard in this race, down to even money for Casse. It's not like there was a fast pace. For the mile, they went 48-3. She covered some ground, makes the lead in the stretch, and is just going to get beat.
Yeah, it's just, had to fight a little bit to make the lead in this race, Dan, after sitting on the outside. This winner just comes from a perfect trip and just runs right by her again. I thought the winner of this race was very good. So listen, maybe that's not exactly a terrible loss, even though she was 3-5 and had the lead in the stretch. It seems like the horse that ran her down could be all right. I mean, didn't necessarily want to bet her back in here, but I'm not going to knock her debut. I thought she did some good things in there.
She's cross-entered later in the card, along with the number 4, Winterberry, who won her debut, albeit over the Tapeta surface. Let's watch Winterberry for Casse. This is a daughter of Frosted, going 6.5 furlongs, and I thought she sat a pretty good trip in this race. She got to the lead. They went almost 47 seconds for the half, and she spurts on home. I like that she really fires the final 16th of a mile, but she might have to go faster in this race if she wants to obtain a similar trip.
Yeah, I agree with that, Dad. I mean, she does look good winning, and she finishes the race off really nicely in there, but she also had all the best of it in there. It was just breezing through the first half mile on a loose lead, and just had plenty left through the stretch. I thought she looked good winning. I'm just not sure what it all means. Move her up in class. They switch surfaces. They stretch her out to a mile. It's a way better field. I'm not betting this horse.
Now the 5 Ready to Battle. The 6 Will Reign. They're also cross-centered. We'll start with the 5 Ready to Battle, who showed improved speed second time out. I always think that's a good angle, moving from turf to synthetic. Let's watch that race at Woodbine. 7/8 of a mile. Another situation where this horse was able to get away from the field turning for home. Unlike Winterberry, though, she did some work early and she keeps on going. I think she moved maybe a little bit too soon, but still had enough to hold on.
I feel like that could be true too. I mean, she just sat wide in this race, rolled up on these horses 4 wide and took over. So maybe she did go a little early, Dan. That's her stablemate, Thread, who's also in this race, who's running at her late. Thread was making her debut there. Ready to Battle already had a start. I'm not gonna. This horse ran fine in that race, and maybe you're right that she moved too soon. I'd still rather have Thread out of that race.
We've seen several of the Cassie runners that have shown brilliance thus far, horses that have gone to the early lead, horses that have shown ability in sprints. But I wonder if the 6 Will Reign might have the most upside potential of all of them. She doesn't seem to have a lot of early speed. She was second in her debut at Saratoga, coming from off the pace. And then last time out in the Catch a Glimpse, that was one of those slow early, fast late races. She fell behind. The pace wasn't there. She seemed a little bit green when she straightened out in the stretch. I like that Cassie is putting the blinkers on, and I like that she catches a race with pace. I'm curious whether she runs here or against the boys, but I think I'll use her in both.
Yeah, I agree with that. Definitely going to use her in this race, Dan. I like her stretching out. That's another thing that I like about her, because I think she has the pedigree to handle more distance. She was badly compromised last time, and I'm with you. She just looked green. She looked green in her debut and ran really well. She still looked green last time. The blinkers could really help her.
The 7 is And One More Time. For guess who? Mark Cassie. This one's trying turf for the first time, and while I must admit I don't love the Omaha beaches on turf, this family is all grass. This Damsful Churchtown, a stakes winner on turf, Simply in Front, a graded stakes winner on turf, and Honor Delady, who's done some good things on dirt, but is also a stakes winner on turf. She should handle the surface.
Yeah, I saw the same thing there. I'm like you. I'm undecided about the Omaha beaches as far as grass goes, but I guess we'll see. Certainly took a nice step forward, winning that off turf race at Saratoga. I mean, I can't say that I loved that race overall, and it didn't make me want to bet her back in a Grade 1 race, that's for sure. But I'll be interested to see what she does on the turf.
Ready for Candy, the number 8, is also a maiden, like Will Reign. And like Will Reign, she comes out of that slow-paced Catch a Glimpse. Let's watch Ready for Candy's performance. Slow pace, gate-to-wire winner. Ready for Candy's going to run on pretty well to be second. On the outside in the pink silks is Will Reign. I think Ready for Candy ran just fine in this spot as well and might get a better setup. I have no problems with her stretching out to the mile. We'll see how she does off Lasix.
Yeah, exactly. That's one thing you do have to consider for sure. Yeah, ran fine here. I'm with you. I thought all in all got the right trip and ride in here. Obviously not as good a trip as the winner got, but Emma Jane Wilson seemed like she realized the pace was slow, moved her forward, got her into range, and she just couldn't really make up any ground through the stretch. She ran okay in there. Wilton Rain's still the horse that I want out of that race, though.
Latin Fever is up next, making her first start for Cassie after debuting in a full field of maidens in Ireland. She faced 17 others. She got it done. She beat a couple of next out winners. She was 80-1.
She was a huge price in that race, but when you go back and I don't know if she just slipped through the cracks or if that's not a barn that wins early or whatever it was, Dan. I don't know if you have similar feelings. She did not luck into that win. She ran in there. She was wide on the turn. She was uncovered. She kept coming down the outside, and she closed it down. I thought she ran really well.
She's had a couple of workouts here to acclimate. We'll see how Latin Fever does. Getting out of the gate's often an issue for these European horses. And if this pace is fast and she's even a little bit slow, she might have a lot to do in the stretch. Arctic Velocity is the 10. And let's be honest, Arctic Velocity is going to be a long shot, as she was in her debut on synthetic. She couldn't go with Winterberry. She's just a rank outsider.
I'm not sure why she's entered here, because she'd be really interesting in another maiden race, either on synthetic or turf, because when you watch that debut, she hesitated at the break, then she stumbled, she's way back, she rushes up the inside, and then she gets tired through the stretch. I think she can run a little bit. This is the wrong race to run her in.
Vixen is the number 11, another one trained by Cassie. This one was based down in Kentucky and improved second time out. We see Mark do that with his second time starters, especially when he switches distances, moving from sprint to route. And Vixen showed improved early speed, got a nice trip from close to the pace, and powered on home. The fourth finisher placed to Kentucky Downs the other day with a 65 buyer.
Yeah, really, really impressive winning second time. I was way more put together. The debut was actually an excellent performance after getting bumped really hard at the start and winding up last against a really good field too. This horse ran in that race and was just way more put together going the mile last time. Won that race for fun. She looks like she has a lot of ability.
We watched Thread's debut early on when she was second for Ready for Battle. Mike commented on that performance. And then this Cassie, daughter of Twirling Candy, showed improved speed second time out in this race. This is a 6.5 furlong race. The pace isn't fast. She's only facing 3 other horses. She is much the best.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's hard to tell how much she, the figure reduces a little bit off the debut, but she certainly took a step forward, out of the debut race. And she just didn't have to do that much because the pace was slow and she's not facing anybody. But she pounded that field. I don't know. I liked her debut. I liked that performance. I thought there was plenty of turf pedigree as well. I could easily use this horse somewhere.
Mountain Breeze completes the field, and post 13, I guess, is pretty tough going a one-turn mile at Woodbine, but I guess if anyone can overcome it, it's Buick and Appleby. Mike mentioned the stat in our Woodbine mile race of the day video. He's 8 for 10 at Woodbine, all in grade 1 stakes races. Mountain Breeze doesn't have a lot of early speed. He was near the back of the pack in the Sweet Solera last time out. Very briefly was in behind horses, had every chance to win, ran well to be second, and I think if she runs that race, she's going to be real tough in here.
Yeah, I agree with that. I mean, I do think she's the horse to beat, despite facing all of these sort of underexposed horses. Maybe we kind of know what she is, but she's good, man. I know she didn't win any of those graded stakes races they've run her in, but she ran well in all 3 of them. Just happened not to quite be good enough. This is a good spot.
And Appleby's been pointing for this race ever since they brought her to Saratoga. They've had her here for about 3 weeks now. Let's take a look at our top selections for the Natalma. I like where you're going in here, Mike, with Vixen, the number 11, a horse that ran really well first time out, but I think found her niche going a mile last time out and showed that she's tactical. She doesn't need to be on the lead. She just comes to hand nicely, but has natural speed.
I like that about her too, Dan. I've been really taken with both of her starts. I think she showed that she can run, at least as a 2-year-old. We'll see. This is obviously a tougher race, but she has a chance to be pretty good. I wonder if that 10-1 morning line holds, because if it does, I'm betting her.
I think Mountain Breeze is going to run her usual good race. I don't want to take anything less than the 5-2. This post position isn't fun, but keep an eye on the Timeform US Pace Projector. Remember, we'll update after scratches. You and I are both interested in Will Rain, who was pace compromised last time out. And I want to see what that Terra Nova first-time turf runner Italian Soiree can do, maybe at a price. 11-6, 13-1 for Mike, 13-6, 2-8 for me. It's the grade 1 Natalma, a potential prep for the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Fillies turf. Good luck.